Welcome back to the Captains Quadrant. I'm your host, Joe Dove, and we are so excited to have not only producer, not only director, but an actual gentleman and a scholar. We're talking about the hero to be, the host of the Shuttlepodshow, the director of the Shuttlepodshow, Mark Cartier himself. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. How are you, bud?
Oh, I'm excellent. Now that I'm here, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to have you on. We absolutely love the Shuttlepod show. I've been a fan for sure since you guys started because
oh wow, thank you.
Yes, all your guests are like my childhood heroes. It was like, oh my god, you got the guy from Alien Nation. I've just been watching. First of all, your host or
Gary Graham.
Yeah, Gary. Yeah, I was like, oh my god. So I've been hooked and sunk right in ever since. That's why when we met up on Twitter a couple of months ago, I was like, oh, that's the guy from Shuttlepods. No way he's following me on Twitter. So I was elated. I couldn't believe it. So you made a young man very happy on the other side of these United States. But I got to ask you, yours is a classic American success story because you come from the Midwest and now you live in the Gold Coast. And it's a testament to the persistence and drive that a person has to take them to the stratosphere. So what started your journey into the old-fashioned show business?
Oh, geez. Well, Star Trek. One. Two, when I was young, very young, like third grade young, my grandfather used to listen to the radio all the time. And one Halloween, he sat me down and we listened to the Orson Welles, the Mercury Theater on the Air replay of the 1938 War of the Worlds broadcast. Yeah. The infamous broadcast that started Orson Welles' film career and scared the bejesus out of half the country.
Yeah.
And just that always stuck with me. I was obsessed with that story about how powerful mass communication is, and the stories that we tell to each other can have a profound effect to each other. But when you share it with millions and millions of people, you can really make the world a better place. You can also make the world a terrible place. But, that was always fascinating to me.
Yeah, that power is just unparalleled, and I'll never forget reading about that because I was unable to listen to that radio broadcast when it first aired, but hearing how like the pretty much the world stood still for a little bit and freaked everybody. People were out in the streets bugging out and everything. I was like, oh man, I would have loved to have been there to see what would happen.
Well, the president of CBS in his pajamas and robe, standing on the other side of the glass. He locked out of the booth, begging Orson Welles to stop broadcasting. Himself. Like it was amazing.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It's where we get disclaimers from nowadays.
Yeah, the first disclaimer came from Orson.
But like that's one of the ways that we are all very much the same. Is when we share our stories about the things that we care about the most, that are the most primal to us.
Right.
Surviving terrible situations, caring for our children, those primal things. That's when it doesn't matter where in the world you are, we're the same. And that's one of the reasons I love storytelling so much. And then obviously Star Trek has that is Star Trek's message. And I wanted to work on Star Trek. And if I couldn't work on Star Trek, I wanted to do a Ghostbusters movie.
Oh yes. I love Ghostbusters. I actually got to see the new film. They're doing it in Manhattan. I was in the Lower East Side.
Yeah.
The other day, and it was driving. I was like, and I just couldn't get my phone out in time enough. And they basically were telling people, shush, go away.
Go away, run away.
Oh my God, that would have been awesome.
Okay, so I have a question, being somebody who is somewhat alien to the film industry and everything. Looking at some of your credits, which incidentally, I have to point out, and I've pointed this out several times, The Core is a guilty pleasure of mine. I love The Core.
Same, yeah.
And I have a quick story about The Core. I saw The Core the day that Columbia crashed.
Oh.
And there was something so cathartic and wonderful about that moment when in the movie the shuttle made the emergency landing successfully. I don't know. Everybody in the theater clapped whenever that happened.
Yeah,
it was
Hillary
just
Swank was
a
the
thing.
pilot. That's why, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my
Also,
question,
a bit of movie magic. Just I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Wait, there wasn't really a shuttle?
We didn't really crash a shuttle in the
next thing you're going to tell me is Hillary Swank's never been in orbit.
Wait, she's never been.
No, I wouldn't tell you that. That's
All right. Yay!
Anyone tells you that, they're full.
Keep the dream alive.
So my question is, what does a producer do? I know they produce, but in the film industry, what does that entail?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. This is one of the most common questions that people have.
Well, I'm nothing if not common.
Yeah, well, I try to describe it as a producer, especially if it's not a big studio or network thing. A producer is the CEO of a startup. You're the one with the idea or with the contact who has the idea. You're the one who puts together the financing. You're the one who hires all the right people to do it. You oversee the development, the creative work. You manage the relationships. You oversee the distribution, the marketing, the PR. The buck stops here with a capital P producer. There are different kinds of producers. There are development, creative and development producers, development executives, people who develop stories and package scripts with the right actors, the right writers, the right directors. There are line producers, physical producers who are really good with spreadsheets and coordinating, the transportation for 60 different people, multiple locations, and overseeing all of that, making sure that 112 people get fed 3 times a day on location and things like that. And then you have executives who tend to represent the capital or the studio and oversee the producer's work. Make sure that they're doing their job, make sure there aren't any issues, and to make the hard decisions when it comes to we need more money. But, I've very rarely been in a position where something that we were working on needed more money.
Oh, you keep a tight belt. That's awesome. Smart move. Especially with the cost of eggs these days.
Yeah, I mean, unless something awful happens where, it's such a complicated machine and it happens so fast. You're going from, you get a green light and then you've got 3 months to ramp up, and then you spend, $1.5 million, $3 million, $6 million in something like 90 days, which is difficult to do these days because of the way banks work.
Yeah, especially with all the tightening lately.
Yeah,
the rising costs of interest rates, nothing like it.
Yeah.
So you've got another one of my favorite movies under your belt, and that's Beowulf.
Dominic worked on that movie. We were just talking about that the other day.
That's awesome. Yeah, you look puzzled, Jace. You're like, I don't remember that. So make sure you catch up with that one. But
I watch that movie about once a year, and I've never realized that.
So you guys had the success of making it better than the original produced work. I think that that's an amazing moment, and at the time it was like groundbreaking for the technology. How heavy is that technology working with? Like, is that motion action, like with the little dots, or because you guys were like the innovators basically of it? Because you had Sean.
On that movie, most of my work was done by the time the film started shooting.
Oh.
So all of that complicated motion capture, animation stuff, which was sort of Robert Zemeckis' passion at the time.
Mm-hmm.
That was all being done by teams and teams of people. By the time the film started shooting, I had started working on, I think it was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't remember.
We've done one and on to the next one, right? You get all the eggs lined up, all the ducks in a row, and then you just keep going.
I just want to expand on what you just said about you move on to different movies before a movie is finished.
Well, it depends on what your job is.
Yeah. Well, artistically, let's say that you're doing that. Artistically, how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel almost like you're abandoning, or like you're handing it off to somebody else?
Well, you have to. There is nobody who can actually make a movie on their own, and anyone who can technically do it, there's something unique going on. Real movies require a real cast and real support, and there's so many people that have to do their job so well and be communicated with so efficiently to give these things a chance, that you have to trust the people you work with. And when you get hired to do a job, that's the job. If the film is this going to go on for this long and your role is right here, you come in, you say goodbye. It's just like actors that come in for their part. Most actors aren't there the whole time the film's shooting. They're only there for a week or 4, depending on the role. So, you get used to coming in on a project and then doing your job and saying goodbye and moving on. And if they need your help down the road, they call you back. And if they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
See you at the premiere.
Yeah.
See you at the premiere is what everyone says to each other.
Yeah, see you at the premiere. Yeah. Very from inside.
And it is a little dissatisfying for me, at least. It got to a point where developing these projects and working on the creative development side, nurturing these stories, finding the right screenwriter, developing the script over sometimes years, getting meeting with directors, meeting with talent, getting them packaged onto a project, and then to see the movie take an abrupt turn because an executive's mind changes about something, and it becomes something completely different. It gets a little disheartening. And one of the things that I love about doing this show is it's our show.
Yeah.
We really answer to ourselves. Obviously, we answer to our fans because we care about the community that we're building. But it's one, fun to do a Star Trek show because it's such a part of my soul. And 2, it's ours. So we get to experiment, we get to screw up, we get to try things out that we normally wouldn't be able to if we had to answer to somebody else. So I think we all enjoy that part of it.
Oh yeah, I especially love screwing up. It's one of the things I do, especially when you get these long things to read, and I'm like, I only have one good eye, man. Like,
it just comes naturally,
And sometimes it's like you talking about things for days or hours or days or weeks or months, and it's like, let's just try it.
Yeah.
If it sucks, we'll figure it out. We'll try it again. We'll throw it away. We can restart. We can reimagine, or we can just pretend like it never happened.
Yeah. So I know you have a huge love for Star Trek, as you have just said, and that's why I'm wondering. So there was a huge success from Picard that's spawning this huge snowball of do a Star Trek Legacy. Then it became do a Star Trek Janeway, do a Star Trek thing. So I've always wondered, since you have such a good relationship with the guys from Enterprise, how about you show run Star Trek Archer? Because we never really got the right ending to me. I love the show, and I always felt like that last episode was kind of messed up because it was a holodeck instead of, we never even got the speech. So how awesome would a Star Trek Archer be with you at the helm?
Well, one, that's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, there you go.
I obviously would love to I would love to work on any Star Trek series or film as a writer, as a producer, or as a director, as a showrunner. Let's just check it off.
Check them all.
List, right? We've actually been bouncing around because we started doing live events this year.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to do another one. And we've been bouncing around the idea. I wrote this thing a long time ago about, well, I won't get into it too much, but we've been bouncing around the idea of getting the cast together for a live event and doing a reading of something that kind of says, well, here's the crew 23 years later, or whatever it is, 22 years later, addressing Trip's death, and that's sort of a dream of mine. So we're trying to work on that.
Oh, that's awesome.
We are working on it. We're trying to pull that together.
I don't know if you're familiar with memes, but that's one of those shut up and take my money, Mark.
Take my money.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for that. Let me know. I'll be there with bells on.
That's fine.
I would love to see that kind of as a spiritual continuation of Leonard Nimoy and John Delancey's old Alien Voices program they used to do. That would be a lot of fun. So kind of taking the appropriate turn into the Shuttlepodshow. Tell us all about the genesis of that. How did it get started?
Well, Connor Trenier and I are very good friends. Connor had just gone to Maine with me to be in a movie that I produced, to act in a movie I produced, and we've had some similar life issues over the years, so we connect, we bond.
That's awesome.
And we were playing pool at the beginning of the pandemic, and just started talking about the idea of doing a show. It's like I just want to do something. Everyone's doing podcasts. We should give it a go. I bet we could do it well. You're a Star Trek guy. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I'm a producer. I bet we could nail it. And he's like, it's funny you should say that. I was talking with Garrett from Voyager, Garrett Wong, and he's got the Delta Flyers, which is becoming successful, and was talking to me about it. And, I've been thinking about it. And I was like, well, then shit.
Yeah, let's do it.
You have to do this. You have to let me produce it. I promise you I'll crush it. And let's go have some fun. And, you've got all these, everyone loves you, Connor, in the Star Trek world and outside of the Star Trek world. He's one of those sort of magic people who everyone loves.
Yeah. In fact, he recommended me to a great food spot when I was in Philly.
Oh yeah, that sounds like him. And we both got very excited about it. We spent the better part of a year knocking it back and forth, trying to figure out what we were doing, getting gear, doing research, watching other shows. We wanted to do something that was unique, that that other people weren't doing, or at least weren't doing well enough. We wanted to stand out. And it's like we had some advantages in our show, especially once we invited Dominic. Connor was like, we have to get Dominic. We have a banter. We sort of work as a tag team at these conventions. So when he got involved, it's like we've got this huge advantage in that we've got a couple of Star Trek celebrities. So whatever we do, we're already one step ahead, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we just sitting around talking, like having a beer and shooting the shit was always the most interesting part of when we were testing this out. And we thought, well, let's just have a talk show. Let's trade war stories. You guys had this crazy adventure 20 years ago, and you relate to everyone else in the Star Trek franchise who also 10, 20, 30 years ago had the same adventure. And let's just, grab a whiskey and sit around the campfire and trade war stories. And I'll bet you that's the most interesting version of anything we could do. And it worked out that's kind of, and they're so good at it. Like,
yeah,
Erica is really she can bring that normalcy into the room.
Yeah.
And, keep it from becoming a sausage party, I guess.
Yeah. You need a break.
There's too many dudes in the room.
Right. It's very dude. Oh, hey.
So she fills us out. She keeps us on behavior. She asks questions that none of us dorks would ask. And it just seemed to work. It seemed to click when we started testing it.
Yeah, so glad you did, because it's one of the things that's always on my rotation. It's always good to see you guys posting out. And now that you're on Patreon and I get to the sneak peek right before everybody else does, I feel special. So thank you.
Well, we're updating our Patreon. There's going to be lots of special things that are going to be happening going forward. Now that we've had some time to learn how Patreon works and what the community that we're a part of, we're honored to be a part of it, but also the community we're building around our show specifically. Now that we're sort of learning what it is that they love, we're trying to adjust what our Patreon is to bring them more into the experience that they want to have.
That's awesome. Smart move. Got to roll the punches and go with the changes. So
you got to learn, got to grow.
Yeah. Otherwise you stagnate, and you don't want to do that. And I can't wait for all these changes. So, shut up and take my money. We're looking forward to it. I'll upgrade my level. Let me ask, I know you're a big Star Trek fan like I am. I've got to ask, which of the actors, when they came in the studio, did you get a little starstruck and like stumble over? Oh, hey, buddy, you know.
That's a good question. Nana Visitor.
Oh yeah.
Walter Koenig. Walter Koenig was the first one where I was like, oh my god, oh my god. You know, the rest of them, it's like I'm a producer, so I've been around celebrities for 24 years, and you know, one of my mentor, a producer named David Foster, who did some of my favorite movies, The Thing and Short Circuit. And,
oh wow!
He told me when I was in my early 20s that when you're in the room with a celebrity, you have to be their boss. You know, they're the celebrities, and there's something magical about them, but they work for you. You hire them, and unless you maintain that professionalism, your relationship can drift into bad places. So I've always been pretty good at not getting starstruck, at keeping it professional. You know, building relationships where natural relationships would grow. But you know, I don't get sucked into that sort of Hollywood thing.
That's awesome, man.
Except for when Walter Koenig walked in, except for when Nana Visitor walked in, and
understandable.
maybe even a little bit Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Did you start singing Reading Rainbow?
No, of course not. And if anyone even started humming it, I gave him the shittiest look.
Really?
I was telling Joe earlier, I was at a convention with LeVar Burton, and it happened to be the 25th or the 30th anniversary of Reading Rainbow, and whenever LeVar Burton came out, it was magical. The entire audience started singing Reading Rainbow to him.
Sure.
And he was up on stage tearing up and everything, and it was just, I wish I'd been recording it because it was just the most beautiful thing.
That's magical. That's magical. At our live event, we had that where everyone who was attending our event started singing this theme song to Enterprise.
Yeah, Faith.
And I like tears in my eyes.
I saw that video and I died laughing. I was like, ah! And I always went, do you guys get sick of hearing that or what? The people
not anymore.
No, that's true. Yeah.
If I was on a TV show, I would be singing the theme song all the time, going down the streets. Been a long road, getting from there to here. I would never stop.
That's true. If he ever watched our show, he goes into jokes. He doesn't stop.
No.
Jason's no bueno at stopping.
Nope.
No, I never know when to stop.
He does not.
I'm still cracking Shreddy's jokes, and it's been like 6 months.
6 or 7 months since Shreddy's incident.
Although you did bring it up. I'm just
it was my fault.
You started all that. Okay, so I got a question for you. You've had all these great celebrities on the Shuttlepod show. Who is your dream get and why?
William Shatner, because he's William Shatner.
Okay, yeah, that's the appropriate response right there.
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you know, when we started doing this, people started asking, well, who do you want on as guests? And I was like, were they involved with Star Trek? Like all of them. We want all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
We want the big headline names, and we want the character actors. We want, you know, the actor who was in one episode. We want the actor who was in one season. We want writers, producers, directors, showrunners. Yeah, I mean, we've had some. I think we've had. Obviously, we stick with. We try to have a big name. We try to pace them out so that we can grow the show and get attention. But we're also trying to make sure that we're always getting an effects. You know, we had Ron B. Moore, the effects guy. We had Michael Westmore, the makeup artist. Both of whom, by the way, have Emmys and Oscars coming out of their ears.
Yeah.
We've had we had Rick Berman, we had Brandon Braga, we've had David Livingston. So we want to continue to get showrunners and writers and directors and, you know, behind the scenes crew people. We're working on some composers right now, some writers right now. We've been trying to schedule Terry Metalis for but his schedule hasn't been working out so well. But
I heard he's doing something.
Yeah, he's a little busy.
I heard he's doing something.
He's doing something these days.
He's taking pictures of his DeLorean.
Yeah, I noticed. It was funny. I was like, a couple of weeks ago, he posted a video of him coming out of the Lincoln Tunnel. I was like, "Oh, do you woke up this morning and grabbed yourself a phaser?" because it's like the
Oh,
Sopranos.
yeah, woke up this morning.
Yeah, woke up this morning.
It's
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. I love it. Since you brought up Jonathan Frakes, it's one of my favorite interviews that you guys have done, and especially Dom gave him that jab. It's like you guys went on and made like an episode about yourself. Was that a planned bit or
No,
did you
none of our
any
shows
out?
planned. We have segments like we're going to have an opening and then we're going to have a conversation.
Mhm.
We would like to know where you're from, how you became an actor, why you like acting, how did you get into Star Trek? Let's talk about Star Trek and what are you doing now? What do you love now? And then we're going to do some fan questions, play some trivia, and do Connor's Island. We don't plan any of it beyond that.
Wow.
So these conversations are very natural.
Yeah.
Nothing is, if someone smashes their glass mid-answer, we'll remove the broken glass and let them answer again. But
Right.
We don't manufacture any of it.
Oh, that's awesome. So natural. So it's even more fun. So if you're
you should
go back and watch that. That was so cool. Such a great episode. I was dying because we had just done. So we do a show called The Agony Booth, and now we're going to ask you the Star Trek stuff. I know I was telling you about that.
Yeah, I can't wait. Actually,
there's so many of them. You need to invite Dom and Connor onto the show too whenever you come join us. I'm just saying that I would love to see their input on that.
Yeah. I'll show you some of the clips because I think you get a kick out of it as a Star Trek fan.
I mean, I know that on our show we've addressed what's the notorious one in first season of TNG.
Oh,
Code of Honor.
Code of Honor.
Yeah,
we addressed Code of Honor a couple of times because we had Denise Crosby on, and she was like, "Oh my!" I was like, "This will never make it on TV." And then they had us dancing around these fluorescent light bulbs, and the one broke, and it cut the girl the actress I was fighting with, and it was like toxic chemicals, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Wow.
And Michael Dorn talked about it as well.
Yeah.
So that episode has come up more than a couple of times.
Dorn was lucky; he wasn't even in it.
Yeah, that's right.
He gets to.
Oh hell no!
Nope. Probably a reason for that.
Yeah, I think so.
And that reason is he had to drive the Enterprise.
Yeah,
exactly.
Sorry, busy.
He's up there at the steering wheel going, "What the hell is everyone doing down there? What are those lights?"
Yeah. What are you people doing?
Yeah. I know you have a lot of changes coming, and one of those changes was instead of doing so many Star Trek guys, you got your first Stargate actor on the show, which
we had David Blue this Sunday.
David Blue, which I love because it's the world of sci-fi is so huge, and it's absolutely a loving genre, and there's so many people that give so much care to it, and it's great to hear other stories because growing up, first thing we did Star Trek, everything. My mom took me to see what was it, the Voyage Home. That was my first Star Trek movie in the theater. And then
that's not a bad first Star Trek movie.
No, it's not a bad one at all. Yeah. And then infamously known as the one with the whales.
Yeah. The whales Star Trek.
The whales Star Trek. So I've been going to Star Trek.
Trek Humpback.
Star Trek Humpback. I've been doing the Star Trek movies ever since, and I just engulf myself in the shows. Is there any other genres since you guys tapped into Stargate? I've always had a love for Farscape. Just throwing it out there. I don't know if you've ever seen
having Ben Browder on.
No way, really?
Well, he's friends with Connor, friends with David. He was on Farscape and he's on Stargate.
Yeah, he was on Stargate, yeah.
Over SG-1.
That would be amazing.
And one of our producers, Chris Muscatello, who works on the show, his favorite show of all time is Farscape.
Yes, he's got a friend here with me too.
He made me watch that show 20 years ago. He sat me down and forced me to watch it.
And what did you think?
I mean, I got into it.
All right, cool. At least we got that.
It took a second though.
Yeah. It's very different. It's very alien based, and the direction of sci-fi shows is a little bit different. So it takes a minute to get used to them. Once you're into it, you get into it.
There were a couple of episodes of that show that are so remarkable.
Yeah.
But like most sci-fi shows, they tend to take a season to figure themselves out.
Yeah.
Because they get a little bogged down in the concept rather than sort of the heart of the stories they're telling, and the characters haven't. A character on paper is one thing, but when you cast, you have to hand over your intention to the actor, or you're screwed.
Right.
And the magic, it doesn't matter how good of a writer you are or filmmaker you are, the magic that happens in a good film or a good TV show is when two actors develop a spark, have some sort of interaction, honesty when they're playing their characters. That connection between performers is really what makes it good. And if you've missed it, or if it takes too long to find that, it can sometimes get a little murky.
Right. And then there's so much magic. I mean, for me, that the relationship between Ben and Claudia Black,
oh my God,
was
right?
so good.
How great is she too? Wouldn't she be awesome?
She would be amazing to have on. I actually went to, so I do the con thing, and I'm one of those guys that I actually have. If you look behind me, there's Dominic's autographed picture right there.
I saw it earlier.
Yep. I got a bunch. I have a ton of stuff, and I have the fourth season of Enterprise, which is my favorite.
It's a great season.
I have them
right
here.
There you go.
Oh wow.
There you go. So, are you going to be getting into the con scene yourself? You're going to be starting.
I've never been to a convention before in my life. The live event we threw this year was the first Star Trek event I've ever participated in.
Oh wow!
And we are planning on going to Las Vegas this year in August. Okay. Mostly just going to meet people and say hi to people and let people know we're a show. And the number one comment we still get to this day is, how did I not know this show existed?
Oh, well, I've got a surprise for you later on, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Jace, go ahead.
Okay, so we talked about the future of the Shuttlepodshow. What is on your horizon, though? What kind of projects have you got coming up?
The Shuttlepodshow.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, we had a movie we were doing this summer, but with the writer's strike and some other stuff, it's just it's gonna rest until we come out of the strike. And I'd like to, with the show on such a good trajectory, we would really like to see. We don't want to take our foot off the pedal,
Yeah.
We'd like to see it grow, and we'd like to continue to engage with our audience. And if we go off to make a movie or do something else, we'd like to know that the show is all good.
Would you ever consider having, let's say Dom or Connor got stuck in a movie, you can swap some of the other Enterprise actors off, maybe?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Cool. Billing.
We've had, Dominic got hurt in December, so I sat in and co-hosted.
Which you did great, by the way. I saw those.
Thank you. I can sit and talk about this stuff with these people all the time, but it was a uniquely weird situation for me because I didn't want Dominic or anyone else to think that I was trying to fill in for him. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to enjoy it too much. I didn't want, I was holding his seat because no one can do what he does as good as him.
Very true.
So in hindsight, I probably would have enjoyed it a little more.
I would have got real cozy to see this fits.
Yeah, but we've got Dominic's going to be gone again in the next month, and we would like to not take any hiatus.
Yeah.
So we're trying to work out our scheduling. We're also we've been working really hard on, we've got the Shuttlepodshow, which is conversations with awesome Star Trek alum or sci-fi people. We've got Dr. Muhammad Noor, who's going to be our first scientist guest.
Oh, sweet.
in July. So we're excited about that. And we'd like to also start, we want to interview the woman who drives the Mars rover, and we want to interview the guy who is figuring out if there's life on the moon, stuff like that. Astronauts in the space station.
Yeah.
But we also want to, stick as true as we can to Star Trek. So those conversations are all really good and really fun, and that's our flagship show. We're trying to launch the Episodes, which is a new show where we all sit down and we watch an episode of Star Trek live with anyone who wants to watch it with us. And then when it's done, we talk about it and we review it and we answer questions and we get through. I mean, if we have how many series and movies to get through, so we can do that for like 17 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have 30 years, bud.
Yeah. So, but I want to make sure, because a lot of people do that. A lot of many of these shows, and you guys, as well, watch Star Trek and review it, talk about it. We want to do it in a way that is different, obviously, that doesn't take away from what other people are doing, but complements the greater community and complements the larger conversation about Star Trek. My goal is to treat it like a Star Trek school, where different perspectives of the show really contribute to opening the conversation, so that even people who have seen every episode 100 times might still get something new out of it because of the perspectives of all of us,
Yeah.
And me and Connor and Dominic and Erica, and bringing in a guest who's relevant to that episode that we're watching, whether it's an actor or the director or one of the writers or something. Really excited about that.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I think that'll be a blast, because it's like when you get the director's track under the movie on the DVDs back in the day when we used to get discs and play them before streaming took over and the DVD collection.
Yeah, live commentaries. And, like how and so much of the show is like, what would I, as a Star Trek fan, forget that I've been a producer my whole life. As a Star Trek fan, what would I want to see? And it helps that we have no idea what we're doing with YouTube. Like doing a YouTube show, it's like we don't know. Like, all right, we make it and then we upload it.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we monetize it? Everything is new to us. So rather than overcomplicate that and overproduce, we decided to just make our conversations good.
Yeah, called out
and learn as we go. We've been lucky in that, going with my gut. Like, what do I want to see as a fan? If I'm the only person watching the show, what would make me happy? And those are the decisions. Whenever there's a question as to what decision we should make, we tend to, as long as we do that, it always tends to work out.
It's awesome. So it will be successful. I'm telling you. Once you guys start doing that, it'll be.
I hope so. From your lips to God's ears.
Hey, we have a blast doing the Agony booth. We did this thing called the Wheel of Agony that automatically generates the terrible episodes that we select. Oh. And it'll randomize. And then at one point we were doing this thing where for every time we nobody wanted to watch Code of Honor, and every time we spun and hit a show, that show was replaced with Code of Honor. So one time there was like 12 Code of Honors on the wheel, and like for some reason it still didn't hit Code of Honor, and it was like, yeah, thank God.
It's like the most perverted game of Russian roulette I've ever been at.
Existence.
Yeah,
exactly. You can't fight reality.
Exactly. But it was a lot of fun to do, and we're all big fans. And we, even some of the more hard to watch treks is still fun treks, and
all Trek is good Trek. I believe that.
Yeah.
Even the bad ones, especially the bad ones.
Yeah,
especially the bad ones. Yeah, that Garrett. Yeah, what a wonderful meme.
Yeah,
and some people say, well, that's bullshit. Bad Trek is bad. You can't call it good. You're just you're being dishonest. And it's like, well, our meaning isn't that all Trek is necessarily by definition great. What we mean is all Trek is good to someone.
Right.
Someone likes the one you don't like, and it's not okay to rail on them and call them stupid You know,
Right.
if you don't like it, that's great. You can have a different opinion about anything you want, but when you start being a shithead,
Yes.
that's where I draw the line. Like,
Oh my God. I'm so glad you
I
said that.
don't care that you're on the internet. If you wouldn't say it to my face, don't say it on the internet.
People get so brave on the internet. Like,
They really
know.
do.
it's insane. It's like, really, MFR, like, come over here and tell me that. I'm not a small dude. Like,
there's a
you're not
bar
gonna have
down the
this day.
street. Tell me that at the bar down the street, and we'll see how this conversation goes.
I'm always like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
I mean, you were saying how great it was to have David Blue on. I thought it was fantastic. He's such a Star Trek fan, like a lifelong Trekker. And he's so interesting to talk to. And Stargate is my SGU is my favorite show if Star Trek is not a part of the conversation.
Oh, wow.
So having him on was awesome.
Yeah.
But there are people who are like, oh, forget you guys. If you ran out of Star Trek people who are willing to talk to you, you should just quit. Your resumes blow. You're assholes. And it's like, what's the matter with you?
Well, I am an asshole.
Spent 10 minutes writing that comment. Why?
Yeah. But I mean, fully on them because
ice cream, bro.
Is it the fully on them because one of the best things that happens is comments, good or bad, because the algorithm picks up on that. So
some of them are really fun. I really love some of the like fail blog snarky comments.
Oh
like,
yeah, we used
where they think they've got you, and really they're just kind of tools.
That's great.
I also like a good trick. You know, if they're pretending like they're being mean, but they're seeing if you're smart enough to pick up what they're throwing down. I like that. That's fun.
Sounds fun.
You can play with us. Anyone can play with us.
Yeah. Some
just don't be mean to other people.
Right. Keep it.
You can be mean to me. Don't be mean to poor Sally, Ohio, who's trying to just enjoy our show.
Exactly. Oh, the universe. So I know you guys do the con thing, and I was lucky enough to meet both of the guys at the DG and Icon. And there's a new, very successful convention that's happening here on the East Coast called Trek Long Island. And
I've heard about this.
Oh, you've heard about that? Well, let me tell you. At the end,
somebody introduced me to Stephanie.
Oh, so I was going to put you in contact with her. That's funny.
Well, I mean, the introduction never panned out. It was too close to the convention or something like that. But yeah, I mean, we're trying to introduce ourselves to all the fun conventions out there and trying to figure out ways to participate.
That's great, because at the end of that convention, they said, who would you like to have next year? And then so the room erupted. Shuttlepodshow, get the guys.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. So
that's amazing.
I know. And then that's why one of the big things I wanted to tell you in person, because Steph, we're hoping to have, because they do a lot of podcasters on that. So we're hoping we're going to do a live Agony booth at next year's.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to be there.
You're more than well. Come on in, man. We're going to do a live Agony booth. I was talking to her before we got on, and I was like, oh, you never believe this. I'm talking to Mark. I was so excited. So for sure, they're doing it next year. They've got it's the last weekend of May, beginning of June. So, but the reception that you guys are getting here is incredible, and people really wanted you guys there. So I highly recommend, from my purview.
We would love to do it.
Yeah.
It's just, need to talk to the right people, I guess.
Yeah, well, the right person's there. So
you know the right person.
I know the right person. I love how it's so like genuine. It's not even, now that I know that you guys didn't even script anything, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, we script nothing. Yeah.
I have a whole new love life over it.
The only thing we put up our promos onto a teleprompter so that our guests can read the promo.
Wow.
But other than, it's literally just sit down, roll the cameras, and see where the conversation goes.
Wow, perfect. All right, so we talked a little bit about bad Trek. Let's talk about good Trek. Let's talk about your favorite Star Trek episode. We're gonna be Trekkies together right now, and we're gonna
favorite episode.
Yeah, that's right. Let's do. Let's pick. Let's do one of each. We'll do.
Okay.
Oh my God, are you gonna? All right, go ahead.
The original series, I'm going to say Doomsday Machine.
Yes, I love that. That like
solid choice.
Cornucopia, solid choice.
The big bugle in space. Yes, the bugle of death. Yes,
the bugle of doom.
The bugle of doom.
when they were ended up being Wrath of Khan, but when they were very secret about what the new Star Trek movie was going to be with the recast TOS series, Kelvin timeline Trek.
Yeah, the Kelvin
timeline. And then they gave him a name. They gave who ended up being Khan a name. So I was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to redo Doomsday Machine, because they had this like shot of that other ship that came into view and it just had this noise behind it. So I was like, oh, how sick would it be if like they redid that? And
Doomsday Machine movie would be great. The Doomsday Machine was the original Borg. It was the original terrifying, and like the Balance of Terror was a great episode because the Romulans were so sneaky and terrifying, and submarine warfare movie and all that. But and they were kind of cold-blooded and seemingly evil, but there was something in there that wasn't necessarily pure evil.
Right.
So it was nice. It was interesting, but like the Doomsday Machine, it didn't give a shit.
No, it did not care.
And that's it. It doesn't care. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't call you. It just eats you. And, it's bigger than you, and it's scary. And it took Commodore Decker. Was that his name? Decker?
I believe so, yeah.
This is the first time I'm realizing that Captain Decker from the motion picture, and Commodore Decker.
Yeah. So, all right, the original series TOS movies. Which one was your favorite?
2. 2 and 6.
Yes.
It depends on the year. It depends on the day.
Yeah.
2, 6, or 4 are all acceptable answers.
Yeah.
2, 6, or 4. 2 was great for a certain reason. 6 is great because it got it all right.
Right.
And it was ending something great is always so hard.
Yeah.
And Star Trek 6 ended that crew, that cast, so perfectly. I was talking about this the other day, and it got me tearing up when the Enterprise goes off into the sunset and they've gotten through they've saved the galaxy one more time, and all of their names, their autographs come up and the song is playing, and oh my God.
Yeah. Second star to the right, straight on till more.
Yeah.
I love that line. It's like, and the way he delivered it too. It's so Shatner-esque. It was like, awesome.
With that shit-eating grin.
Oh my God, I love it. One thing about Star Trek 6 that I absolutely love, and we found this out, and I've watched it a million times.
Christian Slater. You love Christian Slater.
Of course I love Christian Slater. I was like, Christian Slater. No, I watched it. Probably one of the movies that I've seen more than I should admit to see. But we actually spoke.
I saw that movie 60 times in the movie theater. I've never seen the movie so many times in the movie theater.
Okay. Equal footing, because we had just opened up the multiplex cinemas. They tore down our arcade, and this thing, multiplex cinemas now opening, and the first movie is going to be Star Trek 6. I was like, okay, I'll be there. And then they had great air conditioning, and at the time we didn't have any air conditioning. So I was like, I'm going to live here. This is me now.
I'm going to live in the Star Trek 6 theater.
I'm in Star Trek 6. But as many times I've seen that movie, we actually spoke with Thomas Serpent. And he actually told us that General Chang's eye patch had the Klingon insignia etched into it.
Oh, I never noticed that.
You never noticed it? Oh, great.
That is awesome.
That is so incredible. And
I know it's like bolted to his face, but I had no idea.
And then they put the Klingon insignia in each of those little bolts. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I ended up, guess what? Watching it again.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta go watch it again.
Yay!
Erica's gonna be like, "Yay again!"
Oh, yeah, terrific! Woo! All right. So let's move on to Next Generation.
Yesterday's
no. Ooh, that's a good one, man. That's one of the.
Jeez. Okay. Yesterday's Enterprise or The Best of Both Worlds, Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, those were fantastic.
Acceptable answers, yes.
Yeah.
Followed by, I think, the participation award goes to Q, the one where where Guinan introduces the claw.
Yeah. What?
throws the Enterprise to meet the Borg for the
Yeah.
first time, and Ensign Gomez spills her coffee all over Picard. Yes, Ensign, it's all over me.
That was,
And then
that was
she's never seen again.
yeah.
Well, she's a captain in Prodigy.
Until Lower Decks.
Until
Yeah,
lower,
I'm sorry, not Prodigy, Lower Decks.
Decks. Yeah. That's
She's actually was supposed to be a guest right around Christmas time, but the schedule didn't work out. And, we donated to her charity. She has an awesome charity called Drive By Do-Gooders.
Oh, okay.
Drive By Good Dooders. They do water and socks, and for the homeless situation here in LA, as well as for their animals, for their dogs and dogs. I don't know how many homeless cats stick around.
Well, I mean, no, they don't stick around because they're living with Jason.
They just plot. Yes.
Master of cats.
Master cat. He's got like 12 or something.
I have a cat.
I noticed that a while ago.
There's 3 cats in a cat tree right over there.
Yeah, it's wild.
They're staring at me and judging me right now.
So next would be obviously my one of my favorites, Deep Space Nine.
Oh, that's a really hard one because so much of that is so good.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
I'm going to go ahead and say the very last episode, the finale.
Oh, wow.
Because it's another example of wrapping up a show really, really well.
True.
And it they had really come into their own. Obviously, we missed Jadzia Dax, but Ezri Dax was wonderful.
Yep.
And a very suitable character to fill Jadzia's shoes, I think.
Yeah, I thought so.
Instead of trying to be her again, they just went in a whole different direction, which I appreciated, and I hope a lot of people appreciate that. But also Vic Fontaine, like so much of what that show became wrapped up so perfectly in that episode. What We Left Behind, is that what it's called? No.
What we left behind.
What we left behind. Yeah, that's right. There's
or What We Leave Behind.
What We Leave Behind. Yeah, that documentary that
is What We Left Behind.
Stephen Bear made.
Yeah. I actually there's a picture there. That's the ship that was supposed to be in if they had another season. The Emmett Till. Now Star Trek Voyager, and since Picard was going to be on here, you can tell him no, not one of yours, buddy. No.
I really liked A Year in Hell.
Yeah. With Red.
Yes.
Yeah.
when he calls the timeline a dumbass, and then yes.
That's funny. I also there's so many of those 7 of 9 episodes that are just so good.
Yeah.
Because that character and the dynamic between her and the Doctor and Captain Janeway and Tuvok, it's just that chemistry was so remarkable.
Yeah.
It's hard to choose Voyager. I say either Year Hell or
Unimatrix Zero, maybe.
No.
Or maybe no, the one with the rock, right? For sure.
That one. That is the best.
That episode. Is the best.
Not just of Star Trek. It's the best episode. And also Jeffrey Combs was in that episode.
Oh, you can't go wrong with Jeffrey Combs.
With the Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeffrey Combs played the Rock.
Yeah. And 7 of 9.
And 7 of 9.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just Jeffrey Combs. Yeah, that's what it is. Which is another great interview on your show with Jeffrey Combs.
That was another one where I was like,
oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Wow. We're getting the tea. Jeffrey Combs is such a cool dude, though. Like, I'm just watching him in Reanimated, a masterclass.
There's also one where there's an episode where they, I forget what it's called. They tap into some ancient communication system and get a message to Earth or from Earth.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Years.
Yeah, that
7 of 9 spent all this time figuring it out, and then
I know which one you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it though.
Oh, come on, you're a Star Trek savant.
I know.
And then there's the episode where they send the Doctor to
that other ship, right?
That other ship, the Prometheus.
Prometheus, yeah, that's
the Andy Dick episode.
Yeah.
Andy Dick is the MH2. Yeah.
All right. very controversial.
That was a great episode.
It was.
Robert Picardo was on our show. That's a hard one because that's another one where there was a lot of Voyager that I was like, but there was also a lot of Voyager where it was really good Star Trek.
Right. Right. Like the episode where my favorite is the episode where Tuvok goes back and like he had some type of parasite or something, and he goes back in his own mind back to Sulu.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes. Back to the Excelsior. Yeah.
Excelsior. Yeah. It was like, because I always felt we were robbed of an Excelsior show. Like even if
I agree.
Oh, cool. So I got a unanimous decision.
It would have been awesome to have an Excelsior show, especially like right around the time Voyager was coming to a wrap, just before Enterprise started.
Right.
That would have been a great time because George Takei was sort of that captain's age, Maybe it could have been a show about them trying to get him to retire or promote him, or the Excelsior's getting a little older now or something like that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Newer ships are coming out.
See, look at this brilliant. Come on, Paramount. Let's call Mark up. You guys already have his number. Just make it so. I mean, they could even do like a Lower Deck style last one season.
I told this story recently. When I was in high school or college, end of high school, beginning of college, I wrote a series of comic books that I ended up creating into a graphic novel called Civvies. And Civvies was a story about the independent contractors, the civilian contractors who worked on the Enterprise A during Star Trek 6.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, so from they're doing the thing, and then the Enterprise gets this mission, and they're off to escort the Klingon Chancellor, and all hell breaks loose, and murder mystery, whodunit, like, and they interacted with the primary plot line regularly enough to be like, oh, that moment. It was really good. I loved it, and it was always going to be my dream project.
That's so funny. It reminds me. It's like a Star Trek version of Rosenstein and Guildenstern are dead. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
When Lower Decks came out, I actually didn't watch it right away because I was so heartbroken that I felt like that was an idea that
that basically what you just
an idea that I had.
Yeah, that was wow.
But then I started watching it, and it's some of my favorite. It's my favorite. It's not my absolute favorite, but it's some of my favorite Star Trek ever. It's such a good Star Trek.
It's so joyous. I just love it.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Everything in it is a callback, and I'm such a Rick and Morty fan that
it's very Rick and Morty. Yeah,
it's got that energy and that smarts.
Right. And how about that live action crossover they're doing?
Oh, I'm trying really hard to avoid anything spoilery with all the new Star Trek coming out. I've seen some of the promotional stuff about it, but I've been avoiding it like the plague.
Oh, that's lucky because they did a screener, and then they did some premieres around just for the fans.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any of it. I'm avoiding it.
That's smart. But the cool thing is they made everybody do what is it?
Is he gonna ruin it for me right now, Jason? Is Joe gonna ruin it?
No.
He better not, because if he ruins it for you, he's gonna ruin it for me.
So I didn't get to go to
the by two grown men, Joe.
You'd be surprised how quickly I can get to New Jersey to take my revenge.
Joe has so many cats in the house. He's got.
That's Jason. I have a dog.
Right.
Yeah. He's a cat master.
I have my attack cats.
Yeah, battle cat. Jared, come somebody. No, I had a mishap with the whole premiere thing, so I didn't go. So I have nothing to spoil. I'll be watching it with everybody else on Thursday. Very excited. But one of the things they said, they have an embargo for all podcasters and social media. So like you can't post for 2.5 weeks. So very excited. There shouldn't be too much that comes out. One of the guys that was on that show we spoke with was Bruce.
How great is that?
Oh, such a good dude.
Yeah, great actor, great character. Oh God, and so spoiler alert. Speaking of spoiler alert, in season 1, I was so upset about his character.
Yeah, same. It was like a part of me died.
It was so unnecessary. It was
it's hard.
I was watching the guys at Popcast Unleashed today, and they were talking about it, and he just nailed it right into my heart. Like it was all he had to do was go outside.
Yeah, because they don't like
Go
the cold.
outside.
Go
Yeah.
outside, you'll be fine. Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. One of the jokes that Bruce says at cons and even on our show is there's some hybrid Gorn Anar running around because the Anar are cool with the freezing cold. Yeah. So there's a possibility that one of them popped out of them, survived, and
Oh
then
yeah, sort of Alien Resurrection style.
Hey,
It's
right,
some
exactly.
horrible hybrid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good in fire and in ice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's in fighting itself because the Anar are pacifists and the Gorn are like warlike. So it's like having this incredible inner conflict.
Pack that cryo weapon up, boys. Ain't gonna work no more.
Yeah. So what's your favorite Enterprise episode?
Minefield.
Oh, good choice.
It's a great choice.
And Similitude.
Another good choice.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And the one where T'Pol is taking care of Archer and he's got like Alzheimer's.
Twilight.
Twilight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And humanity, Earth's been destroyed, and humanity is very small, and some of like the Vulcans are trying to help humanity out without getting into the path of the angry Xindi. That was really great.
Yeah. When we land on an episode that's beloved on the wheel now, we change it up a little bit. We call it the Ecstasy Booth. And we had Sean Ferrick on. And we watched Cogenitor. And that happens to be one of my favorites because I love this.
It's a great one.
I think that one is my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. The science in that and the companionship that you make just in a chance meeting with another species, and you both are out for exploration and the betterment of your society.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic writing. And I was like, wow, this is really a great episode. And it really wasn't a whole lot of shoot 'em ups or anything like that. It was
there's a very similar episode in TNG with Riker.
Oh yeah, when he was they were doing like a first contact, and he like became that alien, and he was on the planet, and they were like transgender folk.
Yeah, well, and I forget what it was. She didn't. It was bad for her to engage in a relationship with a gendered or something like that.
That he called it the outcast. That's what it is.
Yes,
I told you he was our savant. That's why.
I'm not good at anything but this.
What does Sigourney Weaver say? Galaxy Quest. I have one job on this ship. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's Jace. There he is.
I'm both complimented and insulted. Thank you.
At the same time, you're welcome.
Well, I meant it as a compliment.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll take it that way.
And so the Kelvin timeline should have been a one and done, or did you have like?
Oh, that's a good question.
I love this fandom talk. It's great, man.
I kind of wish it was a one and done.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, it's fun. It's great on the big screen. It was a fresh take on it. But I just, me personally, I was a little disenfranchised by the alternate timeline thing. It was both underutilized and overutilized, if you know what I mean. Like they just used it as an excuse to do the same thing differently.
Right.
Because they were like, well, we have to connect with the old fans, but we have to do new things. So let's just make it. Let's do something similar but different. Which is a Hollywood thing. There's a saying in Hollywood: "Give me what I love, but different." But it turns out always being, "Give me something different, but really the same." So I don't know. It frustrated me mostly because I felt like I could feel those development meetings and like how the project was coming together, and I don't know. I really liked the first one, the Kelvin.
Yeah.
That opening sequence where they the Kelvin is fighting the Romulan ship that shows up, and Kirk is being born while his father is saving everyone by smashing the Kelvin into the Romulan ship. And like, and the music, I can hear the music now, and like just tears in my eyes. So good.
Yeah, it was so good.
And when you can sit down with the girl that you like, and she's like, oh my God, this is so good, and it's like, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And how great was Nero as a villain?
Oh yeah. Oh geez.
Oh,
yeah.
He was so Eric.
Eric Bana.
Eric Bana was
awesome. I heard some story where J.J. Abrams was telling him to act like someone else recently. Have you heard this story?
No, tell us.
Do your best impersonation of this character.
Really?
I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was Al Pacino or something silly like that.
That
do your
makes
best
sense.
Al Pacino.
Man, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I'm wrong with Al Pacino, but there's
because if it's Scarface, that kind of makes sense because the way he was acting in that, because he's like sometimes would blow up on you, and then sometimes would be like kind of mellow.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That makes a lot of sense because that's how Scarface was. He would be mellow at some points, but he would blow up because of the cocaine. But you know,
what is that?
What is that?
I'm sure Nero was probably on coke at some point. He was probably cocaine Romulan a few times.
So that brings us to Discovery. Are you caught up on that one, or?
In my head, so Discovery seems like 3 different shows.
Right.
Season 1 is sort of uniquely different from season 2, and season 3 is again such a different show. Season 3 and 4, I guess.
The season 3 and 4 are kind of similar because they go from the past before.
Yeah, they go to the future, 900 years in the future.
900 years in the future, and it's like what?
The pilot of Discovery is probably my favorite because it was intense, it was fun, it drew me in. I was like, oh God, they're really going for it as a TV show. They're going to make it like a movie, but as a TV show. This is going to be like HBO was doing Star Trek instead of,
Paramount.
or, instead of being like a primetime network thing.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. But I also have to say that after I went back and rewatched it, I think one of my favorite episodes is the episode that ended season 2 and then the episode that started season 3 because they're so different.
Yeah.
The episode that ended season 2 was so much fun because, space battle and bad guys and good guys and Spock and all this great shit. And
that control was
and they're underdogs and
and then you got the classic TOS Enterprise with like a modern update, and it was the first time we saw it. I was like,
I mean, we saw it in the beginning of season 2, but to have it back and be cool and then that next episode where she's in the future and is alone, I was like, and you knew the crew was coming. You knew
at some point.
Like, okay, she's got to find her crew, and that really it didn't kind of jump the shark the way Picard season 2 did, where it's like, well, let's just shoot in LA because it's easier.
Poor Picard.
It was fun to figure out what was going on, and that's a hard one.
Their control, I think, was probably their best. That was the peak. I thought that was incredible. They had a great villain. The one you were talking about.
With Control.
That was incredible because it brought a new type of AI into the universe, and I thought they were going to connect with Picard because at the end of season 1 they had that like tangly.
That's what they were trying to do.
I thought so. Yeah.
I stopped putting brain energy into that question because I was like, you're never gonna get a good answer. They've clearly moved on. I'm just gonna move on to.
That's smart. It's not. That's only me when I started watching Prodigy. It's like, oh, that thing is Control. You know, like I was trying to connect.
Everything was Control.
Everything was
Control. Everything was butt bugs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, in Picard at the end of season 1, it was the interdimensional robot octopus. Are you an artificial intelligence? Let us know and we'll save you. It was like, creepy as shit.
Yeah, they had something big with that, and they kind of just went, nah, forget it.
Control was awesome. Also, the way they dealt with the Discovery and its spore drive and pulling it out of the making it capable of existing in canon, because I know that canon is so important to some Star Trek fans.
Yeah, that's true.
For me, I'm not such a stickler about it.
No, give me a good show. I don't care what you do. You can bring
show,
I don't care. Yeah, I'm not one of those gatekeeper guys that's like, oh, it's got to be like, on my computer, like,
and like the bridge of the Enterprise in Strange New Worlds not being the exact same set.
Oh my God!
The bridge from the original series is like
that really bridge is so beautiful, though.
It is.
It's amazing. You know. Also, like, we're all gonna die. The franchise needs a new audience. You know.
Yeah.
Just embrace it for what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And be grateful that people care enough about it for it to go on.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Go back and watch TNG.
Right. Go hang out in the past. That's fine with me, man. I'm here for everything. I'm here for the future. Yeah. Just go die.
No.
We love everybody. It's just
we love everyone.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta get over yourself.
And like I said earlier, I respect people's if one Star Trek is your jam and you don't like the rest of it, cool.
Yeah.
I like all of it.
Yeah. Same.
Love
all of it. All of it. And then we've got Strange New Worlds.
That's another really hard one.
Because they're also good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I would have to say the Balance of Terror rejigger.
Oh, that was sick.
Because it's one of the it was on and I was packing a bag or something, and I realized what was happening, and I stopped. And I stood there and watched it, and I was like, holy shit. And I told Eric, I was like, oh my God, they're doing the Balance of Terror.
Yeah.
They're doing it. They're putting him there. And because Kirk wasn't there, something bad happens. Oh my God.
Yeah. It was so dope.
Yeah. I loved it.
Oh my God.
I lost it the second that the Monster Maroon showed up.
Yeah. That was
shows up wearing that uniform. I was just, oh my God. My favorite was Lift Us Where Sorrow Cannot Reach.
Yeah,
the one about
Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach.
Cannot Reach. Thank you.
Yeah.
The one with the little boy. I think that one was just incredible. That was just an incredible episode. There were just really
good that whole season.
The worst Strange New Worlds episode is not that bad of an episode.
No, the worst one would be the best in some other series.
Yeah, that's for sure. And did you watch Prodigy or?
I've only seen half of there's only one season, right?
Right, one season, but they split it up.
I've only seen half
20 episodes. Yeah. All right, so you definitely have to go back. I know you've got enough on your plate, and there's a million things you're doing running the show, but you got to go back and watch the other half of Prodigy because they do some incredible things with it.
They really do.
And you guys had Bonnie, who's become like my the godmother of my dog. Because I met her at 2 cons, and she actually took a selfie with us with our dog. And you guys spoke with her. She's the voice of the ship on that show. She's an amazing talent. There's so much voiceover work, and hopefully she's watching. Hi, Bonnie.
Bonnie did a really fun game for our Patreon members. We asked a number of our Patreon members to send in a couple of details about themselves, and then she turned them into jingles live on our show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like little commercial jingles. And we took those clips and sent them to our Patreon members who she did them for.
Oh, that's awesome. She's so great, Bonnie.
Yeah, she actually just lives down the street here. So,
Well, if you see her, tell her I said hi. Tell her Teddy says hi. She's not going to remember me.
Okay.
You know that cute dog from the con and says, "Oh, Teddy," and then that we end up in
Lower Decks.
Lower Decks, yeah. The last one.
Yeah.
I know Jason's is the butt bugs one. That's probably
it.
Butt bugs.
My favorite is actually Wei Zhu's The Three Ships. That one's my favorite.
What's the one with the California class ships?
Fighting the Texas class ships.
Fighting the Texas class.
The Stars at Night.
The Stars at Night.
That was so fun.
That was super fun. Yes.
I also really like, well, I mean, all of them. I like the one where they made the movie on the holodeck.
At this point. Yeah.
I love the one where they did they were doing training sessions and
yeah, keeping the board kids and everything.
The fact that they called him Excretus of Borg was just incredible.
Yes. Yes.
That's great.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us and hanging out with us, just here chilling, talking about Star Trek and your amazing Shuttlepod show. Let folks know.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Let folks know. We're of course going to have all the links below, your Patreon, you're on Facebook and all those wonderful socials. We're going to have all those links below. But if there's another special project or something you want to mention, let us know. And let, of course, our groups know.
Yeah, we'll do. I mean, our big thing right now is we're trying to find a permanent home and trying to make sure that the show can support itself financially, because it is not free to do this, and we do not have an investor. We don't have a studio. We don't have a network behind us. It's just us. So, join us on Patreon if you want to support what we're doing. If you want to help us find a permanent place to set up our stage and let it live, so we don't have to blow 20 hours moving gear in and out and setting our stage every time we shoot. The biggest thing is we are so overwhelmed and surprised and appreciative of the community the way the community has embraced us and the community that's been growing around our show. It's really, I had no idea that my love of Star Trek could be a thing that I could spend doing day in and day out. So it's a lot of fun.
And you know what that means, Mark? You're going to actually live forever.
I am going to live forever.
Because if you do something you love, you'll live a long freaking time. Well, congratulations on such an amazing show. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you go and subscribe to their Patreon. For just less than a New York cup of coffee, you can support this great show. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe to both if you haven't already. And we will talk to you soon. Live long and prosper. Check out SpectrumSanctorum.net for all of our podcast merch. We have an entire merch store ready to give you all the things that you loved about our podcast. And get notified on all of our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our Spectrum Sanctorum merch store. Follow us today and be sure to hit that bell when you're watching our YouTube videos so you can be notified of when a new episode releases.